G'day groovers, rockers, and in between. This is Vinyl Vibes. I'm your host, Jack Hudgens. Today, we are talking with legendary session musician Al Kooper. Al joined his first major group, the Royal Teens, in 1958. After his time with the Royal Teens, he'd become a professional songwriter in 1960 and would co-write the number one hit, This Dimond Ring, in 1965. Al's journey as a session musician took off for him after playing the iconic organ riff on Bob Dylan's Like a Rolling Stone. After this session, Al would always have session work, playing on albums such as Blonde and Blonde and Let It Bleed. In 1972, he discovered Lynyrd Skynyrd and would go on to produce their first three albums, which included the songs Sweet Home Alabama and Free Bird. G'day Al, and welcome to Vinyl Vibes.
Happy to be here.
Let's start at the beginning, Al. You grew up in Queens, New York. What can you tell me about your childhood?
I think it was pretty normal, to a point. Things got nuts as I became a musician.
A few years later, when rock and roll started kind of getting started, how did that impact you? Do you remember rock and roll having a big impact on you?
Oh yeah, it changed my life. I was riding my bike. It was election day. I can't remember the exact year. And I'd saved up money, and I was going to go out and get Elvis's new album, which I think was his second album. And so I got up early, and I was obsessed, and I had the money, but the store wasn't open yet. I kept going, I'll just ride down there and wait for it to get open. I got on my bike, and I got hit by a car, and I went up in the air on the bike, probably about 15 feet, and then came down sort of head first, but I was able to stay on the bike. So that, the bike was rendered useless.
Yeah.
And I was able to, after, I got helped by the people that hit me and a neighbor. I was able to walk to the house, which was only a quarter of a block away. I hadn't, been out in the street very long. And I remember I had a white jacket on, and I rang the doorbell. And I woke my mother up, and she was very angry, and then she saw the blood, and she whitened out. I said, "What happened to you?" Then my father came home from work, and he brought the Elvis album with him.
Oh, wow.
Now, that's what I call parenting. I wanted to get a guitar.
Yeah.
So I saw one in a Sears Roebuck catalog, and it was only $45. At this time, I was a little older. I was like 11 or 12. So I got the guitar, and I kind of forgot about the piano, and just obsessed on the guitar, and then started playing with a local band. We started a band, me and my friend, called the Aristocats, and we played, all the popular songs at the time. I was hooked. 2 or 3 years later, I ended up in the Royal Teens with the who wear short shorts.
Yeah, I mean, how did you get to be a part of the Royal Teens? Because I could imagine, for, you were only 14 at the time. I mean, for a young guy like you, getting into such a well-known group, I mean, that must have been pretty exciting for you.
Oh, it was, fantastic. I mean, and all the gigs were fantastic, because we played on a lot of shows where there were, 15 acts, and everybody would play 2 or 3 songs, and it would, stay in one place for 2 weeks, and then it would go somewhere else. And so you didn't have to travel every day, which was very good. And then we had the travel everyday stuff, and my whole concept changed because I realized that I could eventually do this for a living. I was hooked, and the Royal Teens had a number 1 record, so we got around for a while there.
After the Royal Teens, you kind of started to do a lot more session work. Yeah, what was it like back in those days, session work? Was it pretty full on?
Well, I didn't do that much session work. I got put together with 2 other guys by a publisher, and we became a writing team. And we got paid in advance every week, and we sat in a room every day and wrote songs together. And then the publisher would, try to get them recorded by people. the biggest was This Dimond Ring by Gerry Lewis. That was a number one record.
Yeah.
That was good for us.
Are there any songs that you kind of wrote during that time that you wish kind of got more airplay?
Well, I mean, I have all the demos. I put together a 4 CD box set of rare and unreleased stuff. I just have it in enough shape now that I can try and sell it. You know, it starts with the original demo of This Dimond Ring.
Kind of going back through all those tapes, we're talking a long time ago now. I mean, that must bring back some memories for you. And is it pretty, is it meaningful when you kind of go back through all those old tapes?
Well, I never really went away from them. Most of it was a big part of my life. I learned from everything I did. So, I mean, the box set starts off with the original demo of This Dimond Ring, and then Gerry Lewis record, and then a new arrangement I did of it, maybe a few years ago. Starts with, 3 really different versions of This Dimond Ring.
And is that about to come out, did you mention, or is it already out, or?
No, I just finished it. Now I have to sell it.
Oh, okay. Okay, I see. Okay. And I mean, just...
Probably will not be an easy task.
Well, as soon as it comes out, I'd love to have a listen to it if it comes out on CD, and all good.
Better come out on CD.
Yeah, I hope so.
A lot of vinyl.
Oh yeah, is it going to come out in vinyl too? That'd be pretty cool.
It wouldn't be cool.
No, you don't like vinyl?
I like vinyl, but there's 75 songs on it.
Oh, you need quite a few vinyl discs for that one, I reckon. I mean, that would be like a quadruple album.
That would be nuts.
Just before This Dimond Ring came out, I think that came out around 64, if I'm correct. I think early 64 maybe. But just before that came out, I wanted to touch on this because this event affected a lot of musicians. I mean, and it's the November 1963 Kennedy assassination. I mean, did that affect you, musically? Because a lot of artists say that was a big moment, in their lives.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's been a few things like that. It doesn't stick out that much in my life because I've been through a lot of similar things. Where for instance, the New York thing, that was pretty heavy.
Yeah.
And I think I might have probably been in New York then.
Yeah, right.
So, there are other giant things like that. I mean, more than one handful in my life.
Do you kind of find that, as an artist, that affects you?
As a human, it affects me. I mean, it's no different. I still have, in my magazine collection, I still have the cover of, one of the news magazines with the plane crashing into the building. Well, there's just, I've been through a lot of things like that in this life, and they all affected me in one way or another. But fortunately, I had a few good things as well.
Yeah.
So I was more balanced. And then, I got to travel a lot as I got older and got to play Europe and places, I never did, Japan, places I never dreamed I would ever go to. And so, it was great. I look back at it now because I'm much closer to the end of my life and I'm confined to the house. And my life is very different now.
I think it's your 1972 album, A Possible Projection of the Future / Childhood's End. I mean, you kind of wrote that about what rock stars would be when they were kind of 80. I mean, looking back now, that was 1972, 50 years ago. When you wrote it, was that kind of from a meaningful place for you, thinking about life?
Well, I was very against getting old. So I wrote a song about what I thought it would be like to be 80 or something. And then I was at Columbia Records, and the song was called A Possible Projection of the Future. And I said, and I was really into album covers. So, I tried to use them. And when I got with Columbia Records, they had an incredible art department. And so anything that I could think of, they could do.
Yeah.
So I had my face on the Statue of Liberty.
Yeah.
I had Norman Rockwell paint me in Bloomfield. I mean, just all these things you could never think could happen.
Yeah.
They could do there. And I think they enjoyed the fact that I was so into what they did. And I always tried to, say something that, would stump them. And I never could.
Yeah,
So
right.
anything that I could think of, they would do.
Yeah, right.
And that was the most wonderful part of everything. Because I loved, album covers and how you could, express yourself with them.
I want to mention I think this is a really important moment in your life, Hal, and I know it's when you play the organ on Like a Rolling Stone. I'm not going to get you to tell the story again because I know you've told it so many times, so I'm not going to put you through the misery of saying all that. But what I want to highlight...
We hope that who's ever listening to this has heard it at least 10 times.
That's what I mean. So I'm not going to put you... don't worry, I'm not going to put you through it. But what I want to highlight, though, just for your own career and your own life is... That was the first time you kind of picked up the organ, and then after that, you've kind of really
No, that's not true.
No, not true? Okay.
I didn't know much about it. I didn't own one because they're unbelievably expensive. I still don't own one because they're unbelievably expensive. And they also take up a great deal of space. I keep wanting to get one, and I would really have to talk my wife into it being in the living room.
After that session, I mean, that's when you kind of really started playing it a lot more, though. Is am I correct on that one?
Yeah, but I did play a lot on the demos I used to make, and so that'll show up on the box set.
Yeah, okay.
So that wasn't the first time that I played on a recording session or anything like that, but it certainly was the biggest artist that I'd ever worked with. And I didn't even work with them. I was invited by the producer to watch, and it just, I was ambitious Al. I definitely had balls.
Oh, definitely.
I mean, those things that I did were, ridiculously ballsy. You wouldn't be talking to me today if I didn't do those things.
That's an interesting point too, Al. I mean, not that Like a Rolling Stone was I think,
No, it was. It was because of that, people wanted to hire me for sessions.
Yeah, right.
And before that, as a matter of fact, even the Like a Rolling Stone session, I brought my guitar with me and set up to play, because the producer invited me, and he and I were very good friends, and I was going to say to him, "Oh, I thought you wanted me to play."
Yeah, right.
So, but I didn't get that far because before the producer got there, Dylan and Mike Bloomfield walked in. No one ever heard of Mike Bloomfield, so I didn't quite understand. And then he sat down, and Dylan didn't know me either. And he sat down and started warming up. And I had never heard anybody roughly my age play guitar like that.
Yeah.
And I said, well, I don't have a chance here. He just sat down to noodle and outplayed me, out of the room. So I packed up my guitar and I put it in the corner. And I went in the booth where I belonged. And then they moved the organ player to piano, and they took a break to do that. And I sat down at the organ, and luckily it was turned on because I didn't know how to turn it on. And it's complicated. It's a 3-step process. And I don't think that the producer saw me. And then they started playing, and then it's on the tape, on one of the bootlegs. Where he says, "What are you doing out there?" And everybody in the band laughs. And then he laughs, and he says, "Okay, here we go. This is Like a Rolling Stone, take 4.
Had that not have happened, Al, I mean, it sounds like from kind of what you described then that your life might have been very different had that one event not happened.
Well, something would have happened. but because I was so ambitious. Look at what I did there.
Yeah.
I wasn't afraid. But, I mean, you have to have some sort of ability to pull that off.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
So I was very lucky. And it was 6 minutes long. It was complicated in that respect.
Mm.
And so I was doing it by listening. I mean, if you listen to the first verse, I don't play the chord until everybody else does. And I can hear what the chord is. You know, I had enough musician in me that if you're in the key of C, I knew what the sound of each chord would be. And he didn't use any flashy chords in it. They were all very simple chords.
Yeah.
So I locked into it, and I think the Kooper take was, I can't remember now, but it was pretty early on.
Yeah.
And we did 14 takes. And then I think they used take 5 or something.
I mean, you listen to that song now, and I mean, that organ part is just such a critical part of it. I mean, like...
Well, so is Bloomfield.
Oh, no, definitely. Oh, no, not taking away from the other guys, like, not at all. I mean...
No, but I'm just saying, and they made him much louder than me.
Okay.
It just coincidentally was, one of the most important songs ever. So, but I mean, after they went in to play it back, I became an organ player. They kept me for the whole rest of the album, and, many others with Bob.
Yeah.
I played live with them, and
at the
Newport.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, you've worked with him, on so many projects. I mean, I know you were on Blonde on Blonde as well. That came out the year after. Do you have like a favorite kind of Dylan moment, like with working with him?
Well, just Blonde on Blonde in its entirety, because it was like it was hard work, but it was like a dream. It was every single musician was spectacular, and they all had to wait around because he was writing the songs at the time.
Yeah, right.
So they would all play ping pong and call their agents and like that, and he would teach me the chords, and we would be he and I would be in the studio together, and I would play it over and over for him, and he would write the words while I did that. And then by the time we started recording, I knew all the songs, so I could teach the band the songs without him having to do that. But there were songs that, he hadn't written yet. But then he would have to, teach the whole band the song.
Yeah.
It was an unbelievable experience.
You released your first solo album, I mean, in 1969, I Stand Alone. That must have been a pretty good moment for you, having that first, like, solo album out, like the first Al Kooper solo album. I mean, that must have been pretty good for you.
Well, I think Super Session came first. I might be wrong.
Yeah, actually, no, I think you might be right about that. That might have came out in 68, maybe, so maybe just before...
Yes, it was 68.
Yeah, I think so, just before this solo album.
Super Session album was probably chart-wise, was probably the biggest album I ever had.
Yeah, like, take me through, like, that kind of session. I mean, like, what was that like for you?
Well, it was 2 nights in the studio, and it was just going to be me and Bloomfield, and and other musicians. And so it was going to be one night, and then we were going to take a day off and figure out what we were going to do on the second session. After the first session, he just disappeared, and I had only a day to find someone to replace him. And I was out of town. We were recording in Los Angeles. So I had to call everybody in my phone book that lived in Los Angeles that could have done it and get somebody to say yes. And Steve Sills said yes. And we'd only met once or twice. We'd never played together, but I was a big fan. And he was in between Buffalo Springfield and Crosby, Stills and Nash.
Yeah.
He was rehearsing with Crosby, Stills and Nash. But I called him and he said yes. And I just couldn't believe it. I mean, it was kind of a secret, Crosby, Stills and Nash. He only told me afterwards. But we never really played together. I was just a fan, and I guess he was a fan as well. You have to realize one side of an album was done like in 6 hours.
Yeah, it's interesting in music how, you mentioned it was only like 2 nights in the studio and then it's, this one of your biggest hits. Does music sometimes surprise you like that? Like something you think is going to be a hit or not going to be a hit and then it, blows up and it's like massive kind of thing?
Well, it was unbelievable. Nobody thought it was going to, be top 20.
Mm.
And there was no single.
Yeah.
It was just a bunch of guys jamming together.
Yeah.
But it was a great combination. It really worked great.
You've done so much production work in your life. You've seen like the analog kind of tape machines, and how music has moved to more computer-based, software for making music. Is there any techniques or knowledge that you reckon that producers, like upcoming producers, could learn from that analog kind of era?
It depends what they want to do. Right now, everything is so comparatively synthetic that if you wanted to get a job now, you'd have to know how to make those kind of records. I usually had some kind of studio in my house wherever I lived. And so that's primarily what this 4 CD box set is. It's all the recordings that I demos, but they don't sound like demos. Because then the synthesizers came. And I could have horns and strings without having to have other musicians. I just played them on the keys and set the thing for horns or strings. And that really changed my life.
Do you think the tape machines were very important to the process of music?
Well, it had its own sound, yes. But in the quest for cleaner sound, it got left in the dirt.
Yeah.
But by, a majority of people. There are still people that will only record to tape, but they're older like me.
Did you stop recording with tape at one point, or like your later kind of albums, or did you kind of move on to the computer software, or what did you do?
I moved on to the computer.
Okay.
Especially since I could now record easily in my home studio stuff that was equivalent to stuff that was cut in studios. Because of the synthesizers. I went nuts with that, but not the way you would think. I was searching for perfect drums, perfect bass, perfect organ and piano, so that I didn't have to have those instruments. I just push a button, there's my organ, so to speak. Toughest thing for me was drums. I could never really play drums. And then I could, because, they put drums into the synthesizers, and a C note was the bass drum and an E note was the snare. And then for the first time, I didn't have to have a drummer.
I really love this track you did on your album Naked Songs in 1973, that your version of Sam Stone. I think you've just reimagined that song like brilliantly. What was the process in kind of getting like your version of that song, like getting it all together?
Well, I loved the song. That was the top thing. And I learned it and I started playing it in the house. And I said, it would be weird for me to record this. So I thought it was a good song to record because comparatively, people didn't know about it.
Yeah.
And that's why I recorded it and I put it on my album.
Yeah.
I was afraid if they didn't hear the original version, that maybe they wouldn't hear it. It was such a great song.
Oh yeah.
As a piece of songwriting.
Oh yeah. No, I agree completely.
And also, it was in my opinion, it was great for my voice.
Yeah.
I thought I could really sing it good.
John's lyrics are fantastic, and then you've kind of taken this and you've kind of just turned it into this wonderful, really powerful song. Yeah.
It was a powerful song.
Yeah.
He cut it as a folk song.
Yeah. Yep.
And I thought that I can do much more with this. I loved the song. I thought it was a great song. I wish I wrote it. But
Yeah.
if I did, I would have done it that way.
You've been in the music game, for so long. You've probably seen it go from 2-track tape to now.
Well, I jumped right into it, and I probably did stuff before a lot of other people did, because I had a studio in the house, and I had a lot of synthesizers.
And I know you've played on so many albums with so many people, but there's one that I really want to hear about, and that's when you played on B.B. King's album Live and Well. How did you come to record with him?
Well, my friend produced it, and he asked me to play. But then later, after that, I produced a B.B. King album.
Okay.
Played on it.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, at least one, maybe two.
I mean, like, what was he like to work with?
Well, we were friends. We were really good friends for a really long time. I would go see him when he would play, and he'd bring me up, and I'd sit in with him. He liked the way I played, and so, you know, he wasn't sacrificing himself, which I took as a tremendous compliment. Then he asked me to produce him, and I said, oh, yeah. So I did that, but I mean, it wasn't successful. But I think it wasn't my fault or his. I didn't want to change what he did very much.
I think that's a good point too, Al. I mean, in music, I'm sure there's lots of great albums out there that, you know, never made it to number one or made it to, you know, very far at all. I mean...
Well, that's one of the reasons I did the box set, because all this stuff is laying around here, and nobody's heard it.
After you kind of released Naked Songs in 73, you discovered quite a well-known band, Lynyrd Skynyrd. Take me through that. Like, what was it about them that resonated with you so much?
Well, I moved to Atlanta because I found a studio I loved there, and I wanted to just work in that studio. And then I started hearing really good bands, and I met a guy I used to know, and he owned a club there. So I went to that club every night, and they had the same band would play for 6 nights, and then the next week another band would come in. And if it was a good band, I'd go every night. And if it wasn't, I'd still go because I was chasing women. So it worked out quite well. So I heard a local band there called Mose Jones, and I really liked them. And then a few weeks later, I heard Skynyrd, and I really liked them. So I went to MCA Records, and I said, the music here is incredible. I said, but I want to have my own label. And are you interested in such a thing?
Mm.
And they said yes, which floored me. I didn't expect that to happen. So I called it Sounds of the South, and I signed Mose Jones and Skynyrd. And it was great because they were great arrangers. And that is one of the faults of most bands. The arrangements were fantastic, and I just didn't get sick of it all 6 nights that they played there. And I was in awe of their band. And then I got them to be the opening act on the Who tour.
Yeah.
And I went on the whole tour and mixed their sound live to make sure. And then you had 22,000 people hearing them every night.
Yeah.
Well, that was the thing. And what happened was I was up at MCA where I'd made the deal in Hollywood, and I ran into Pete Townshend. We had been friends for a long time. I played on some Who record, and we just were, you know, we liked each other. We got along very well. So I said, I didn't know you were in town. He said, yeah. I said, I gotta give you this album. I had a test pressing of Skynyrd, so I gave it to him, and he called me 2 days later and said, can I get did they have this album coming out soon? I said, yeah, like any minute. He said, do you think they'd open for us on our tour? He said, it's about 22 dates. I said, not only will they open for you, I don't even have to ask them. I said, but I'll come along and mix their set. And he said, so you can say yes? I said, well, I have to ask them. Maybe they're not Who fans. And we both laughed like that. So then I asked them, and they fell on the floor. And so we promoted the first album with that Who tour. But on the other hand, I had to mix them every night.
Yeah.
I had a good time, and by the end of the tour, you know, they were, you know, great friends with the Who. And the audiences, we played to, you know, 20,000 people a night. Think about that.
They had the album out and it was selling well, but and Freebird was going like crazy on the radio, but they didn't have a single. I mean, and I think, you know, it wasn't released until like after their second album as a single. And I think, you know, had that been released as a single at the same time, I reckon it probably would have been a massive hit for them.
No, I mean, when he wrote Sweet Home Alabama, he called me. I was still living in Atlanta. And he said, we need to come down there. He said, we just wrote a new song. We have to record it right away.
Yeah.
because it's just the way I want it. I said, okay. I said, but let's take a day first and let me hear it and see, if there's anything I can help with. He said, you probably won't. I said, well, let's see what happens. And the only thing I could really do was put background singers on it.
Yeah.
But that was a good help.
From the moment he kind of played that song, did you kind of know in your mind that this might have been a hit?
Oh yeah. In fact, I would have been very disappointed if it wasn't. But it was hard. It was hard to do. Nobody ever heard of them. No one could pronounce their name. And I had to. I think it was on the second album, wasn't it?
Yeah, Second Helping. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So, but the first album did very well.
Yeah.
Without a single.
Because you did the first 3 albums with them. So you did Pronounced Lynyrd Skynyrd, you did Second Helping, and you did Nothing Fancy. What made you stop kind of producing for them? Was what happened?
They threw me out.
Oh, okay. Yeah, okay.
Also, each record was harder and harder to make.
Yeah.
And so the third album was really hard to make. And I said to myself, I can't do this anymore.
Yeah.
Okay. So I bailed.
There's those times in life where, it's just by chance that it happens, and like your story with Like a Rolling Stone, and kind of a bit like this. And I think what I'm trying to say is it's great that it kind of happened at all. Because those are amazing songs. There's not one person that doesn't know Sweet Home Alabama or Free Bird. You know what I mean?
Well, that's how I felt. Like I said, they had another deal. And matter of fact, they recorded at Muscle Shoals in that first deal, but for some reason it didn't work.
After you kind of did all that work with Lynyrd Skynyrd, you got your first solo album out, and I think it was in a 4-year gap between this one and the last one. Act Like Nothing's Wrong. Did it feel good to kind of get back to your own kind of stuff after working with Lynyrd Skynyrd for so long?
Well, I didn't just work with them. I did other records as well. That band, Mose Jones, that was the first release on my label. And Skynyrd was the second.
So
then we put out a double live blues project album where we played live. It was live in Central Park. That's what it was.
It sounds like you did a lot of things just in that little period there.
Well, no. I was, from the time I started. Once I started making solo albums, then I went out and played live a lot.
Oh, okay.
And then also, into different parts of the world that I'd never been before. So that was all going on as well.
Seeing new places, that must have been a pretty, good part of touring, just being able to go to new places you hadn't been before and, see new things, experience different, cultures, I guess, was that a favourite for you about touring?
Well, I kind of got used to it because it's tumultuous. You got to fly for 15 hours, and then you get a day to rest, and then you got to start playing and traveling again. It's it's tough.
Yeah. Very
tough. But I was always lucky to have a good band behind me.
Do you miss touring, Al, or is it kind of you've done it so much that you're okay that you're not doing it anymore?
Well, I'm almost 80, and I'm not Bob Dylan. I can't imagine playing another gig. I'm like, I feel every year that I am. And besides, my doctors wouldn't let me. Not to mention my wife.
Yeah. Al, do you reflect on on the life you've had and
Oh, I do, and I was so lucky, and I did so many. I was in so many wonderful situations that it just was great, and that's why I wrote a book. And it's a very, it's funny, but it's also very frank because I put all the good and bad things in that happened to me. And believe me, they were equal bad things.
Yeah.
And I didn't mind because I wanted it to be sort of a lesson that it's not all great. And it's been in print for ages. It's still in print.
That's pretty. I think that's a pretty good thing. Yeah.
And I only updated it once. But it's got its share of rough stuff in it because everything wasn't flowers and money.
That was Al Kooper, legendary session musician. To keep up to date with all things Al Kooper, head to his website at alkooper.com. Remember to share this show with other music fans. And if you really enjoyed this episode, we'd love to hear from you. Thank you for tuning into this episode of Vinyl Vibes. And to all you music lovers out there, stay groovy.